Hey, hi and welcome. Okay guys, I'm at the still shop. I know why they call it Stihl. Stihl, I guess is how you pronounce it in German. Is because it stihls your money. I haven't bought anything yet, but I did something really cool today. Something that... It's actually getting kind of warm. It's like freezing in the morning and then really warm in the afternoon, right? Now hopefully there's not going to be a big tractor trailer coming like there was the last time, and I can get out of here. I gotta go get my job done. I'm still in kind of bit daydreamy mode about what saw I'm gonna get. Why do I like Stihl? I just like them because I just like them. I have nothing against the Huskies. I'd say if anything, the Huskies are probably a smoother running saw in general. But I find the Stihls just have a little bit more zippiness in general. Fight me, you know what I mean? Like at this point, like, well, no, you don't know what you're talking about. I get that, right? Anyway, here's what I did. And this is probably, I would highly recommend you do this if you're looking for a new chainsaw. Go in. The guy's used to seeing me in there. I mean, not in there all the time, but he's seen my face a few times. Yes, I forgot to bring my whippersnipper for the warranty, but I don't have time today anyway, so. I mean, it's always when you borrow somebody else's vehicle, you never have time to do stuff, right? Humdrum. But anyway, here's what I did. First off, we're going to reduce our speed because there's nobody behind us anyway. Oh, look at all that scrap metal I could have got. But I need you guys to really keep your eyeballs peeled because you're about to see some really beautiful old cars. Check this out. Oh, he's got the trunk up. Oh, the white car. The vet. I'm gonna crash. Oh, like it should be illegal to put cars, cool cars like that close to the road, because that's gonna cause an accident, rubbernecking at that. Yeah, well, but I mean, everybody should be watching out for my driving anyway. It's to their own peril, right? So I go into the Stihl shop very quickly. I was just in and out of there probably less than 10 minutes, I'm sure. And I started with the 400, no, correction. I started with the 362. I picked it up. Yes, I did. And I tried it in the conventional hold, and I turned the saw sideways. Gave it a little bit of a, not a hard shake, but just a shake to see how stiff the saw is, right? And then I picked up the 400. Then I picked up the 462. I don't know who that is, but... And then I picked up the 500i. And then what I did is I picked up the 400 and the 500i at the same time. Guys, I mean, different if you're working with it all day, you won't really notice it, but the 500i is really close in weight to the 460, to the 400, like in feel, but when you turn it sideways, you can tell the 500 is just a tad bit heavier. The 462 versus the 400, almost indistinguishable in weight. About a half pound difference or a pound difference. So yeah, I do notice that the 500 was the heaviest out of all the saws. And that's the biggest saw they have in there. They don't have a 661 or a 881. I asked them if they ever get them in. They said, oh, people have to order it. Like nobody ever orders that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think they've ever sold one. It's not because the saws are too expensive. It's just nobody needs it around here, right? Like the 500i is already overkill. And again, if you're not sure what size of trees you're going to be cutting, like I talked about why there's no big trees in Quebec, or at least in my area. Like there are big trees here, but in general, you don't get, like if you look at the logging history of the country, this is not old growth forest. Like this stuff is, you know, in terms of trees, it's relatively young. Like very rarely you get trees that are over 100 years old around here, right? Most people are cutting trees between 50 and 60 years old for stovewood. And that gives you a tree anywhere between, depending on the species of wood, in between say like 10 inches to maybe 24 inches, depending on the species, right? Obviously the softwoods get bigger faster. So there's that. So, but the cool part was Now I know what the saw is like in my hand. I don't know what it's like to work with it all day, but I could say, yes, I know the 500i is heavier in every metric in comparison to the 400. But it's not that far off, right? But there's almost $1,000 difference in saw. Well, maybe not quite. Say $600 or $700 in difference in the saws, which, okay, on the day you buy it makes a big deal. 3 years after you own it, that extra $600 doesn't mean anything. Like, it really doesn't. You know, you'll have made it back, hopefully, many times fold, right? So the 500i, the things I like about it is what everybody likes about it, is that it's a rocket ship, right? It's the, you know, it isn't the flagship saw. You know, the 881 is the flagship saw, but this is the buzz saw. Like, this is the one that the world's talking about, right? But there's also people that have been using them because they are so popular. There's a lot of feedback on it. And that saw, although it's more saw than, well, that's the whole point. It's more saw than I need, right? Which, you know, it's always better to have a saw a size up than a size down. Like, a size too small than a size too big. I'd rather have one size too big. But you got to live with that, right? So the 462, I think, actually had a better balance than the 500. Right? But the 400 being a tad bit lighter and almost indistinguishable, like in the hand, the 362 and the 400, you can't tell what's in your hand. I have a hunch they're going to probably discontinue the 362. It's not going to make sense to have it. You know, basically the hot rod version of that saw is the 400. You know, like, I think still only needs to make, like, say, like the 170, the 250, the 261, or the 170, the 260, the 400, the 500i, the 661, and the 881. Just because, like, 881's like, you know, specialty stuff. Like, that goes to BC and stuff like that. Those guys are using the big saws. Right? Yeah, the cut power is nice when it's powerful saw like that. But when you're not doing big trees, even a small saw cuts relatively fast, right? And you say, yeah, but you get more work done in a shorter amount of time, blah blah blah. Not really, not really. You know, like, saws don't work like that. Like, you're not doing time trials. You know what I mean? You're basically, you got a saw in your hand, you follow the tree. You got to arse around a million times just to get ready to cut it up. You got to roll the blocks. You got, you know, like, you stop, go, stop, go, stop, go. Like, you can't really base your workday off the speed of the saw. It helps, but it doesn't make that much of a difference. You know what I mean? Like, it really doesn't. Like, my MS260, anything that's in the view of this camera could saw it up in relatively fast time. And I've worked beside my buddy's Husky 372. And that 372, I mean, yeah, it will, if you put it, you know, time trial it, yeah, of course it's going to cut faster every time, right? But, you know, him and I cutting down a batch of, you know, 150 Manitoba maples last year with my MS260 and 270, and he had his Husky 372. It still took the both of us 3 weeks to get that cut. You know what I mean? So who cut faster? You know, it doesn't really make that much of a difference. It really doesn't. Where it made the difference was in the falling and doing the butt blocks. But even at that, you know, like, I was doing butt blocks. Some of the butt blocks were bigger than some of the stuff he was sawing up at the time. But because, yeah, you know, get this branch out of the way, get that branch, you know, like, the faster saw didn't really make that much of a difference. Just because real world sawing is a lot of arsing. It takes as long as it takes. That's why, like, if you're going to get into the tree trimming service, maybe start by the hour. You might lose a lot of contracts that way, because people want to say, okay, I want to know exactly how much it's going to cost before you even start. Well, there's so many unknowns, right? After a while, you get an idea how long it, you know, it's going to take you. Like, you know, yeah, it takes 5 seconds to fall. Okay, maybe 5 minutes to fall a 200-foot tall pine tree that's straight up and down and still healthy. you know, it'll take you about 5 minutes to follow it. It'll take you 3 weeks to clean it up. You know what I mean? Like there's that, especially if you're by yourself and you don't have a chipper and all that stuff. Like, you know, like there's that, you know. But you don't know that. That's why I don't like doing. Sometimes if you know you can get away with it for sure, yeah, you could price it by the job. And that's better for your client in the sense that it's one bill, no hidden expenses. But then you're racing against time, you're racing against that truck there, nice truck. I'm waiting for him to sell that because it's got a dent in the door. But he's a farmer, he's probably gonna run it into the ground. It looks like a nice truck otherwise. Don't know, I know his last name, I don't know his first name. I'm not sure which one of the clan he is, you know. Like I know which one I know what his family last name is, but and his farm, but I don't know which one it is. But anyway, I digress. So anyway, yeah, I'll leave it at about that. There we go.